Hello and welcome to another episode of Laptop Retrospective. This is Think Design Stories. In this series, we will be going behind the scenes on one of the most iconic laptop brands ever conceived and is still going strong. Today I am joined by David Hill, who started with IBM in 1985 and was with them until May 2005 when the IBM ThinkPad division was purchased by Lenovo. Since then, David has held several positions between those two companies, including the Executive Director of Design, the Vice President of Corporate Identity and Design, and the Chief Design Officer and Vice President of Experience Design. When it comes to ThinkPads, there are few people that know more than he does. One item on a laptop used several times a day, but is often overlooked, is the hinge. One of the characteristics of a ThinkPad is that the hinge often opens 180 degrees. David Hill shares some of the thinking behind this design choice.
If you have a hinge that doesn't open all the way, it's a increased opportunity for damage. Because like if you drop it, it could put extra tension on the hinge versus it just opens further. So it's a part of a robustness strategy, if you will, because it can protect the hinge just because it has that additional movement. Also, it is or was very useful for certain docking situations that people used what was called a monitor stand. And monitor stands don't really exist so much anymore. But some people it was like a little table, and you put a CRT on top of this thing, and then the ThinkPad would slide underneath it. And some people would slide it underneath and use an external keyboard. Other people would slide underneath and use the actual ThinkPad keyboard. So the only way you could really make this work and get the efficiency of stacking the monitor above your ThinkPad was to have it filleted, we used to call it filleted open, such that you could use the keyboard and use an external monitor. That's basically it. It makes a lot of sense though, I think.
Yeah.
At the time, there were most computers did not open that far. It requires a trickier hinge. It requires a lot of planning in terms of the location of connectors, things of that nature. But it's really become kind of a signature characteristic of a ThinkPad. They all open all the way. And they've opened all the way for a very long time. But you can imagine how if you had one that only opened 120 degrees, and if somebody, heaven forbid, accidentally sits on it or leans up against it on a chair or drops it on the floor, it could land in such a way that it could break the hinge.
Yeah, and when it breaks that hinge, it's gonna break other stuff around it, guaranteed.
No, it's gonna break the housing, because the hinge is metal, so it's just gonna rip the hinge right out of the moldings, and then you're going to be replacing some structural parts, if not more. So it's really a kind of a simple thing, but that's really the kind of the 1-2 punch of why it's like that. But it's part of the ThinkPad purposeful design ethos.